These conversations happened on the evening of October 13, 2020, at Jane's Bar in a usually quiet town in Indiana. Everything you hear is true and plausible.
Yeah, and while it may be important to tear down a statue or change a name, that can be done anytime. But the effects of slavery will go on forever unless we all join together now to stop it.
Yeah, but we've done that before.
Yeah.
Do you imagine what would happen if ISIS ever invaded us? They'd be tearing down statues, burning flags, libraries, destroying our history, everything just like they're doing in Iraq and Syria, just like they're doing outside here.
And you don't think there's going to be terrorist attacks, though, with all this chaos and defunding of police going on?
And the poor folks, black and white, are the ones who are going to get hit the hardest. When the riots and lootings, with those well-off can regroup and refinance. It's the poor businessmen serving the poor neighborhoods that's destroyed forever.
It's because they lose control of their issues and protest and let rioters not only take control of neighborhoods and protests, but they become the news, replacing the issues that so many are trying to resolve.
Yeah, and then they lose control and don't represent what's good for Black lives, like that young Black man that was shot and bled to death because those organizers in that Chaz takeover in Seattle wouldn't let the police or emergency units come in to save the guy.
Yeah, and the virus is spiking again, and it's not even the main story. Talk about a distraction.
This can go on and on and on, taking up all of our time right now, but it doesn't seem like anything's improving.
And again, spending all our time on distractions from the past rather than changing the present, which has more of an impact on the future.
Yeah, if they want to make an impact and make a point, they need to look toward those racists with the more current history, like former Democrat Senator Robert Byrd from West Virginia, who he was a member of the KKK, and he tried to stop the passage of the Civil Rights Act. Yeah, there's no doubt about him, and he's got a bunch of statues and buildings and portraits hanging in our nation's capital. But politicians protect their own because someday someone may have something on them.
Hey, didn't Obama give the eulogy at his funeral? Huh?
They're not prepared to go too far or too close to home.
And statues and names are too easy to change. And you're right. That's the history they want us to deal with, so we don't become distracted, and so we stay distracted and don't focus on the right choices and the truth, which in everyone's mind would set us free. Years ago, there was this young Black boy in Mississippi named Emmett Till, who was accused by Carolina Bryant, some white woman, of flirting with her, causing her husband and his brother to abduct Emmett, mutilate his body, and throw him in the river. And as hard as it was, Emmett's mother had his casket opened at the funeral to show the world that his son's mutilated body was the result of barbarism, of racism. Now, a trial was held, but the Bryants were found not guilty by an all-white jury. And then a year later, at a magazine interview, they admitted to killing Emmett. Now, while good came out of that and sparked the outrage that pushed forward the civil rights movement, in 2008, Carolina Bryant admitted that she fabricated the whole story, and we just let it pass. It seems like we always just let it pass.
Yeah, and then you have Ethan and Emmett. Ethan's the rich white kid who gets away with murder, and Emmett's the poor Black kid who gets mutilated and murdered.
Yeah, right. One has a family with affluence and all the power that money can buy, and the other with a family that influences our country in a way that money could never buy. But it feels like there's never any justice. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing for Emmett, so we can honor him and his mother by at least always making sure that the truth is told.
Yeah, unfortunately, the truth is that there are those who don't want to have the facts decide what's right and want everything blamed on race. While those involved in these horrible events on either side could really be bad people or just someone who makes a mistake.
Well, that's why we need better training and screening to make it easier to get rid of bad people. I mean, we should be spending the money on a police force that protects everybody equally.
And now where's that money going to be coming from? We can't afford higher taxes, and this virus is going to take away a lot of income from those of us in business, and those unemployed aren't going to be paying taxes. And all that talk about defund the police better not mean fewer police to protect us, but will require more spent on training and social programs.
Well, what about having the wealthy pay more taxes? So it's fair.
You mean making it balance? Like the redistribution argument.
What does that do to bring a balance to justice? And where do you think their money will go? It goes from those who spend growing the economy, creating jobs, to government that'll figure out a way to waste it.
And government continues to grow by increasing our taxes and fees, taking money out of the economy that would create jobs for those who can't find employment.
And mayors and governors will spend those taxes they collect, hiring their friends, family, and politically connected people who may think they could get away with murder too.
Yeah, instead of those minorities who need the job to escape the cycle of poverty that in many cases leads to a life of crime.
Hey, color might seem to provide a dividing line on some communities, but it's economics that causes the separation.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? It sounds like it all makes sense. But this is what I hear every day in the bar. We know what should be happening, but what are we doing about it?
Well, we can show them we can determine our own future like the founding fathers of our country did in the past, who also allowed a way to change the Constitution ourselves so we don't have to wait for a corrupt Congress to do it for us.
Changing the Constitution?
Yeah, didn't you learn that in school, Missy? Legislation call what they say is a convention to amend the Constitution to take back control of our country.
Hey, it'd be worth it just to stop scams like the red light cameras from affecting our survival.
Survival?
Yeah, that's right. It's like a company shows up out of the music man, giving cameras to cities, telling them they'll increase revenues without spending money on equipment or enforcement. I mean,
sounds like the perfect deal for mayors and councils representing the best interests of the government over us.
Yeah, because over half the money leaves town with the camera company, never to be spent on things that normally multiply through the community. Remember what happens when the price of gas goes down and everybody stimulates the economy by having more money to spend? The opposite happens when those camera people show up and we get a ticket, or we lose our jobs because the government decides to close our businesses. We don't have as much money to spend. We can't go out to eat as much. And Jane has to cut back on her cook's hours, or our waitress can't pay her tuition for school or go shopping for more clothes. And the clothes store owner can't buy tires for their car. I mean,
Teach, remember Bobby used to run the tire store? Yeah. He had to take out a loan and lay off a worker just to pay off the rent on his damn store that time.
Yeah. That was when the government had to raise taxes and take more money out of our pockets. Now with this virus, there's no money in our pockets.
Oh, we need to trust in common sense and human nature. I mean, if we have it, we're going to spend it. If we don't, we can't. And it's going to be a while before we got any more extra money to spend.
Yeah, those hurried decisions, stopping practically all businesses to control this virus by isolating people rather than identifying those needing treatment. You know what? It didn't make common sense or business sense.
No.
Those not infected could have continued with normal lives and businesses. But now, all of us are going to suffer from this virus rather than those just infected. And how much can we cut out of our lives to survive? Or better, how much can the government cut?
Well, I can't cut anymore. I'm barely paying my bills right now. The Restaurant Association said that if they keep people quarantined for any length of time, 25% of restaurants will close and never be able to open up again.
Yeah, that's because if you lose your job, you can't go out to eat as much. And so it happens all the way down the line to where people can't afford their escapes of entertainment like ball games or Broadway shows. It affects us all. It becomes like that red light ticket I was telling you all about, but like on steroids.
Jesus. Oh, so the rich, they can continue to make money investing in face masks, ventilators, charging us for movies on TV when we're stuck in our damn house with nothing to do but order takeout food from the freaking guy that's delivering. He might give me the freaking virus, right? And then I still gotta pay my rent with a paycheck that's not coming in, man. Huh?
Well, used to be that our only hope was to bring the cost of governing down so we'd still have something left over to spend.
Yeah, but back then we ended up getting so distracted with the mess of things that it shouldn't matter, you know, or now a virus that does that we don't notice that the government's been turning up the heat in the pot I was talking about.
Problems that there's not enough average Janes and Joes running our country, and we have no idea what all these big shots are even doing. Those folks don't have any clue how we live, and now being middle class is just a pink slip away from being poor.
Yeah.
Slip.
Pink slip.
Pink slip? Yeah, it's like it's losing your job.
And being poor is just one illness away from living in a car with your family.
Yeah, and that might be happening to a lot of people pretty soon.